Lighting and audio is way more important, but we want to go to the sexy stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And the thing is too, like lighting, of course, is absolutely critical. But if you think out of the box, you don't have to have a light. Like
No,
you can still it all depends on
there
what you
is
want to
light.
make, right? Exactly. Like
There is light.
it's out here, you know, but
There
it
is
all
light. You just light
it's
it
the right tool for
appropriately.
the right job, I
Yeah.
think, you know. And like for me to make video, just whatever rambling videos on YouTube, like I don't need anything but the camera, the lens. I don't even need that technically. I could just do this
Yeah.
technically, you know. And Kenji's talked about this a bunch of times before too,
He's
but
like,
like
if you want to create, just use your phone.
there's no barriers, just the one, and you said it earlier, but just the ones that we create for ourselves.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like I'm not
But
going to
for
use
us,
this because I
no, we
didn't
need at
spend all that
least
money.
we need at least an FX3.
I really
Anything
want one,
less is
dude.
just, it's not even a real camera. Honestly, if I could go back, I'm glad I have the FX3 because of its flexibility for running gun stuff.
Mhm.
When you don't have lights set
Yep.
up,
Yep.
you get hired for something and they don't hire you to bring everything. They hire you just to cover some, like an event or something,
They hire you for the result that you're going to give to them in the end.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for all the pieces that go into that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the level that I'm at least. I know when you start doing like bigger agency work, like they do want you to use an Alexa. They do want those things, but I'm not
Yeah.
at that tier, you know.
Well, and also they budget for that though too. Like you
Yes,
don't
yes.
bring your Alexa.
No,
You're
that gets
renting
rented.
it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's funny we're out here and like we'll be talking and just like looking away. Just looking away, looking away. I'm like, "Oh, if you could only see what we see." I mean, you see some of it back
Oh
there, but
yeah.
it's blown out, but it's pretty nice view.
I love it here, honestly.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't always love it here. I always in the beginning I was like, it's Magic Island, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone goes there, but you know,
For
I
a
live close
reason.
by and I have spent, especially in the last month, I've spent so much time here. And not even just the Magic Island portion, like all that whole street, this park is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's huge, it's open, and there's a reason why so many people come here to enjoy time either to themselves or, you know, with
Sharing
people
with
they care about, because it's awesome to have this little oasis right here.
so
Great.
nice. Can you make it around? Can you walk around the point?
Technically you could. Yeah, you would end up near like the Kewalo side, obviously. But yeah, you can access that if you just walk all the
Wow.
way past here.
Pretty cool.
And this has been my proving grounds for doing stuff like this lately.
Oh, cool.
Because I can just walk here. I was gonna walk here today, but
So you kind of knew you were going to do this. I feel kind of tricked.
no, if I showed up with my camera and stuff, then yeah, I would totally say you're right.
But I brought the
I know I didn't
camera.
know you were going to though, so this is awesome.
Honestly, I didn't know I was going to until I put it in the car.
I mean,
Like,
look,
I was like,
you didn't bring it just for it to sit here in front of us while we talked without this setup. Maybe you did.
It
but...
could have. I was open. I was like, oh, I'm gonna put the lens in the bag.
And then bring the bag.
And bring the bag,
Yeah.
and then bring the bag. I was like, oh, this
So
will be
you'd
cool.
have the option.
We have the option.
And now we are exercising that option.
Yeah.
And
it's
you're
cool
gonna go
stuff.
back, and if you decide to
dude.
watch this footage later, you're gonna be like cringing like a motherfucker. But
Didn't
hey, at
he-
least you're not by yourself.
Exactly.
Because that's
Exactly.
the ultimate cringe.
But
and then
the-
you get into the I hate.
I
What am
hate
I talking
myself.
about? Well, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing
I
that.
quit
Nothing I
everything.
say makes any sense.
No, I quit
I'm
everything.
umming. I'm not looking into the lens. Like all those things, you just gonna be like, I don't want to watch this. I'm not gonna turn this into anything.
If you're able to record yourself and successfully watch it, I mean, you've gone pretty far.
Yeah.
You're like, I freaking hate this. Okay, but I put myself through it. I actually watched it, so that's good.
Yep. Baby
Yeah.
steps.
Baby
Baby
steps.
steps.
Come on.
Baby steps. I mean, yeah, you know,
It's
I
hard
think
watching
there is
yourself.
a level of narcissism that goes into that, but I don't think
I mean,
it's
yeah.
only a negative narcissistic behavior if you approach it from that way. But if not, then it can be like a growth mechanism, I
Yeah.
think. Because you
Yeah.
get over it at some point, And then, you know,
You
thinking
get
about
comfortable
options.
with it.
You
That's the
do.
thing.
You
It's
do.
it's just like any job, like or any job or anything. Like you could be you can represent yourself however you want to at any point in time, you know? And so you record this and you're just a version of yourself that you were playing at that moment in time while you were hitting record, playing, being authentic, whatever. It's kind of it's like one take.
Yeah.
We get people when you get to talk to somebody in person, you get one take and then these moments keep going by. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like anyway, that must be the coffee
But
talking.
a part of it too is like, just think about like the first time you went to a paid gig. Like, I don't know about you, but for me, I was so nervous. And for a long time getting my first paid gigs, I was so
Yeah.
nervous, so critical on myself,
Oh yeah.
completely I still worry about, oh man, did everything I just shoot today, like, is it all trash? Like, what if I can't
Did
give
I
them
hit
some,
record or
yeah,
is
oh
that just in
dude,
my head?
we're not even gonna go into that. How
Oh, I
many
got a
times I
couple
forget to hit
stories,
record,
bro. I got a
which is
couple
why I like
stories.
this line, the cinema line of
Mm,
Sony, because there is more indicators on camera for me to
I could
not
use
forget.
more. I could
I
use
Yeah,
more
no.
though. Like one like in front of like just right there
Yeah, yeah.
blinks and I'm like, okay.
Let me get some metas
Yeah.
with tally lights in
And
them.
audio. I want someone to say,
Yeah.
you are recording every 10 seconds just in case.
I just
I
wanted to say
totally
you're
blank
good,
out.
bro.
Yeah, I totally get fixated on the image and I'm just like, oh, it's so critical, it's so critical. And then I'm like, oh fuck. Oh, record. Okay.
Yep, yep. I mean, the worst when it
It's
comes to
getting better
like
though.
forgetting to record is when you flip flop and you don't notice. Have you ever done that?
Flip flop what?
You flip flop record and not record. So you end up
So you
recording when
unrecorded on
you think
accident?
you're not,
Yes,
and then
yes.
you're
Oh
not
my
recording when you
God.
think you are, and then you go home and you start looking at your footage and you're like, it's just a bunch of you swinging the camera around, and you're like,
Oh
oh my
my
God, dude.
gosh. That's a long time to not notice.
Yes.
Oh,
Thankfully, most of the time I do that is during an event, which at that point I have so much coverage.
right,
It doesn't
right,
break what I need to get done,
right. Because by
but
the
it's still
next
like, oh
time,
my God, I did it again.
yeah. But by the next time you notice, you're like, oh shit, I'm not, you know what I mean? It like clicks again. And so it's like, it usually only happens. It's not like it's happening over and over and over and over and over and over. You kind of see it and you're like, oh shoot, okay, get on it, you know?
That's so much, dude.
I've done it at a wedding a couple times,
Oh my God, that sounds so stressful.
bro. I used to lose sleep.
Fleeting moments,
Yeah, I
dude.
used to lose sleep getting home from working a wedding and been like,
Did I hit
I
record?
hit record all those times, right? Or am I just like not record? Why can't I even remember? Like, what's wrong with my memory? Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, oh,
Look, people go through way more stressful and, you know, important struggles, but that is a struggle that we go through as
that's a,
film,
yeah,
video people, is like, did I hit record? You losing sleep? Yeah.
yeah. And then these like special, it could be a special moment, um, like a wedding or an event, or I mean, it doesn't matter if they're hiring you. It's a moment. It's a significant moment,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
you need to show up professional, you need to do your thing, and they need to be, you know, and they need to be
You need to
happy
hit
about it. You
record.
need to hit record, like they're paying you to be professional,
Yeah.
you know, and do what you know how to do, and they know you know how to do. And that's why if I if I forget, I have to swallow my pride and my ego and just be like, hey, actually, we're gonna do that one more
Yep.
time.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they're
Yep.
like, what now? And it's just like, you just have to, I've had to do it.
You know what my line
I've
is
had COVID
nowadays?
stuff and I had
I've
to do that,
noticed
you
it
know?
right there. Perfect take too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do one more just for safe measure.
The old safety.
And it's funny because I've been so notorious for doing that. The people I shoot with will know.
They claim it.
They don't know.
Oh
No, but
no.
we shot over the weekend and I ended up doing that. I was like, okay, let's do one more for safe measure. And my buddy I was filming with, I saw him give me the side eye and he like smirked,
He's
and
like that.
yeah, and he knew that I forgot to hit record
Oh
on that
my
take.
God. It happens, man.
But yeah, I mean,
It happens.
we're humans, you know?
I
Mistakes
know.
happen.
We have to be a little bit like
Our
more
job is
kind
to
to
not
ourselves and to
repeat
others.
those mistakes, but I don't know.
Bro, how bad is it to redo one take?
And
We're
honestly,
not
like,
shooting movies.
you know, the people I film with,
You
they're
know?
not actors, you know what I mean? So like, honestly, another take usually, and you know, I know I'm just making excuses for my mistakes at this point, but the next take is honestly 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10. The next take is actually better than the one that I missed anyway,
I
because they
mean,
got another rep. They got to rehearse it one more time,
you're a perfectionist. What can we say?
and they think in their head that
Man, this guy's good.
we didn't, I didn't, he didn't. They don't even have any clue that I forgot to record anymore.
No,
Because
you're
I don't
just
tell them that. I just
covering
tell
all
them,
your
let's do one
bases.
more. You know, that was great.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect. Let's do one more.
It's all about the approach. I mean, dude, who's to say that you didn't need to do one more take?
I agree. I agree.
You know,
I agree.
I mean, you
That's
needed
why I
that.
feel like it's kind of a blessing to that most of the time the take that I do remember to record, the last take, ends up being the best one most of the time anyway.
Sometimes the first one.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. But it doesn't hurt to have options in
You
those
gotta have options,
situations,
man.
especially when it's like a repetitive take. Like, yeah, I think it's good to have a few different ones. But whatever. Either way, I should not forget to hit record. And it happens
Gotta
more
hit
on my
record.
A7 IV because I don't have the record button doesn't light up, you know, like. And I actually bought the port keys monitors specifically, the ones that I use, because
Because
you
you
can
could see it
connect
on
it
there
and
too.
yeah. But
Still,
still, I get lazy and I'm like, I don't feel like setting it all up. And then
this is great. I feel like I'm not. I thought I was the only one. I thought I
definitely
was the only
not
one who
to.
had these things. You know, like these problems on a normal basis.
No, regularly.
Cool, cool. Nice to meet
I'll
you.
be in a side, like if someone I'm shooting with, like one of my, you know, whatever production team guys, my friends are shooting with me, I'll just side mouth like, I forgot to hit record on that one.
God.
But the worst is like cocktails because
Oh, remake.
yeah, yeah. But usually we shoot so much coverage that
Like multicam kind?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We usually have so much coverage that whatever, we can sneak by without it, but when you know, lately we shoot one camera for our whatever personal stuff. I do this like Negroni Bros thing with my friend Tyler, and because we shoot with one camera, and I've shot with him so many times at this point, because he'll just check me before we start like going through it. He'll be like, "Did you hit record?" But most of the time, because it's only one camera, and I know I cannot miss that. Like the urgency shifts in my mind, so like I actually don't forget to hit record more so in those situations. But at an event, it happens all the time. All the time. I just did it last weekend. I got home and I looked at the footage. I was like, oh my God, I did it again. Luckily, it was only for like a very unimportant portion of the event. But I looked at the footage. I was like, what is wrong? Oh
Why is there a
no.
gap?
I'm like, you hear me on camera, like my friend's introducing me to his wife, but the camera's like pointing over
Oh,
here. I was like, oh, I did it again. How long did it go on for that I
oh
did that?
my God.
That was the flip flop record, not record.
Were they stationary cameras? Were they just?
No, I was
Oh no, it
holding
was
it in my
on you.
hand. Yeah, I was hand holding the camera. But
Dang.
it only happened for a small chunk, and nothing was even happening at that point anyway. But still, yet it happens.
Is there a camera that you've used that you feel that doesn't happen as much, or could it be any camera or any setup or anything like that? Because I asked that just because I've used the A7 IV a couple of times.
Mhm.
One of my buddies has it, and I'm usually shooting on an FX3 or FX30, and I think for the capability, that body style and button system
Mhm.
or button layout is like one of the best.
I have FX3. I agree.
Yeah,
I
it's like
absolutely
one of the
agree.
best.
It's
Um,
very like it's ergonomic for video for sure. Like
yeah,
even just where the placement of the record button is on the top for your thumb, like having one on the front too, like those things are super
yeah,
useful.
super useful. So it's like the times that I've used the A7 IV, I I was just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
what do what's what?
Especially, yeah, I have
There's
like the
knobs and
SmalRig
buttons.
page on it too, so it's like where the record
Oh,
button
so
sits on
can't
it.
get too easy.
Yeah, and then like other people, like my friend will shoot on it, you know, sometimes when we're on a shoot, and like he'll be hitting the custom
Yeah,
button
don't know the
instead of
shortcut.
yeah, yeah, and he's
Yeah.
like, why is it like what's going on? It's not recording. But then like the custom feature is popping up on screen. I'm like, oh, it's you got to go a little bit further on there.
Uh,
I mean, which makes sense. The camera is primarily designed for photography work. It just happens to have
Or
pretty good.
hybrid, no?
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Which is why I like the
that is
camera.
more that is a great hybrid video camera
Yeah,
and
it is
great
awesome.
photo camera.
I think that from the video side, I think I'm starting to feel a bit of the. I think this is more of an ego driven thing, but I do feel like I've sort of like maxed out on its video capabilities and starting to outgrow it a little bit. A
Mm.
little bit. And I think I said it because I just had an opportunity to shoot with my friend's FX6 over the weekend. And it's not the first time I've shot with it. I actually got to borrow my friend's last summer, and he had it on Facebook because he was trying to sell his, which was the best deal ever. I wish I had the budget to buy
Which
it up at the
one?
time. The FX6.
But which friend, I guess I should.
Riley Dabin.
Riley. Oh yeah, Riley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he let me borrow his for a month last year when he was trying to sell it. He was really trying to convince me to buy it, and at that time I had no like projects in the pipeline to like shoot anything with. I mean, we ended up using it, but
You didn't need to buy it.
I walked away from that experience of using it for over a month where I was like, it's an amazing piece of gear.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I just do not do the type of work that merits me having that right now.
Mm.
But now it's funny because my other friend bought one and I shoot with him pretty often. And this past weekend we shot a project with it. And it was the first time where I was like, oh yeah, like I it made sense for me to have it at that point, you know. So now I'm thinking to myself, like, now I don't need it, but I do want it more than I did before because I think I'm kind of like maybe I'm tricking my mind into believing like I'm getting to a stage where it's actually starting to make sense for me to have that
What's
more.
changed?
I think just my growth as like a filmmaker has I've yeah, I think I just grew a lot more, and I've definitely gone back to like wanting to shoot everything horizontal more again because that was one thing I thought when I borrowed it last summer was like people who shoot on an FX6 just to post things on social media, that's absurd. That's so overkill in my opinion. And you're either shooting your stuff horizontal, you're cropping it in, which is like what's the point of all this then? Or you're turning that thing vertical, which is just what's the point of that?
Yeah.
But now I've been wanting to dabble in like more commercial style productions, and I think this past weekend doing something that was more commercial like it it just felt right to use it. And I think now too, like going back to like growing more as a filmmaker, I think I I do notice the image quality difference from my cameras to that now. And I haven't used an FX3, ironically. I have not used an FX3, so I'm sure I would yield similar results, but there's just something about the way the image renders on the FX6 combined with those old vintage lenses that we used over the weekend that just looks different to me.
What describe the difference if you can?
I think it's like a
Especially
textural thing, like the skin tone render on it.
Mm.
And this is the first time I use FX6 with like vintage lenses.
Mm.
We shot it on these really cheap Canon FDs that I bought off eBay.
Oh
But
yeah, you were
like,
telling me about
I
those.
mean,
You got a whole quiver of them, didn't you?
I bought two FDs for about 50 or 60 bucks a piece. I bought a Pentax Auto Takumar for 50 bucks, the 55 mil. And then I picked up a 16 mil Zenitar, which is one of the factories that used to make the Helios lenses. I bought that at Ecotown for like 120 bucks.
Zenitar. Is that the one to get? Is that the old one?
The factory? I forget.
I have a screenshot.
I don't
here
think so. I
somewhere.
think the one, or maybe it is. I forget.
If you showed me the
Because there's
symbol,
three
I would
factory.
know.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the what do you call that?
The arrows.
The rhombus with like
Okay.
the weird like check thing in the middle of it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the other one is like the circle with the arrow and
Yeah,
like the
and that's
B or
not
whatever.
that's
I think
like
that's the lesser
yeah.
quality ones.
But it
So,
also depends if they've been cleaned, if
and
they've
taken
been
care of.
serviced,
Yeah.
like, and even then they're gonna have characters that the other one wasn't.
Yeah.
Some of those vintage lenses are just they've got a look that it's kind of sometimes more enjoyable, I guess, or maybe for certain projects because we're so used to seeing such digital.
Yeah.
It's not the sharpness all the time. Sometimes it is, but it's also like it's like it is that digital edge, you know? It is, maybe it is the sharpness. It's just too much, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not enough paintbrush and just too much freaking,
I think
I don't
like
know.
kind of going back to the growing as a filmmaker thing too is like I've been training myself to be more intentional with what I shoot and how I shoot it and what I use to shoot those things.
Mm.
So like even this part of the project we shot last weekend was like, I mean I'll show you in a minute, but like basically the theme of this video was that this pair of shorts, when this guy puts them on, it teleports him to from his house, but it teleports him to like outdoors. And like I wanted to shoot the outdoors portion with the Helios and a mist filter on it to give a dreamlike effect.
Mm.
Like when he puts that on, it's like he teleports to like this other place. You know, it's like a dream almost.
Yeah.
But then the shots in the house, I did want like a sharper, more contrasty image, you know,
Yeah.
and like I wasn't thinking that way a year ago, not even 6 months ago was I thinking that, you know. So like that's also part of like
Part of the storytelling
yeah,
process.
exactly. So it was like, oh, okay, I knew I wanted to shoot it on the Helios outside to give that feeling when you see it. But then I also like so and putting those lenses on the FX6 gave me something that I'm not used to seeing on definitely not the A7 IV for sure or the FX30. With the FX3, probably A7S3, probably similar, but I don't know. Like Riley and I were going on about it last summer, and he was saying like, dude, like, you know, because I would show him stuff I'm shooting with
Yeah.
it, and he's like, dude, tell me not like, I don't know if it's the codec or what, but there's just something about it. It looks different, which is easy for me to notice because of the cameras that I usually shoot with.
But Riley has FX3 also, doesn't he?
Yeah.
What did he say between the two? Still FX6?
Image quality with that codec. I
Yeah.
don't know the codec offhand, but he was saying image quality with that codec doesn't look like anything else that he
Really?
shot with.
That's cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want an FX3.
Yeah.
I want an FX3 and I've gone back and forth over the last year like do I sell both my cameras and pick up the FX3? But then I'm like, "Oh, I do like having the multicam option."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here, can I show you it real quick?
Yeah, let's check them.
There's no sound design on this version yet, but the bummer part was we had to shoot it midday in Allen Davis in so it is like sun's right in the middle of the sky, washed out. We didn't shoot it near trees, which I wanted to do, but I didn't want to be like overbearing and over controlling, so I wanted more tree coverage, one for some shade, and two because I knew if I had tree coverage around him, then I would really get that swirl and that like whoa, like a ethereal look. So we weren't able to do all that, but
Bro, this is great.
thanks, dude.
Is
Thank
it
you.
for any brand?
Yeah, it's for my friend's clothing brand, actually.
Big.
Yeah. So
This
he
is
does the
like
shorts.
this is like could go viral for sure.
And then this is the other thing we ended up shooting that day.
If you put him in trees, a canopy of trees.
Yeah, that's why. I was like if this was around his head, oh man, it would have looked it
Dude,
would have really looked dreamy, you know?
what about oh man, there's a park. I don't know a lot of the names
No, just
of
throw
the
it out there.
parks.
I've gotten better with my geography lately.
It's on the other side of the freeway.
What's the closest landmark you can think of in your head?
Maybe over by like school. Is that school? Is
School Street?
School Street over there? And
And
it's
at
like
the
a
park?
skinny, yeah. And like I had never stopped in over there, but like you park up top and then you walk down and there's like the little waterway that goes through it. And
It's close to Malka, I'm guessing. Like
yeah,
near up
yeah, Malca side.
yeah. I'm not sure. I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know what it is. I'll try to figure it out. I'll try to get on the Google Maps and figure it out and let you know. But
Well, that's what
it
we'll meet
gets
next time,
it looks,
and then we'll
yeah.
shoot this on a
And you
Helios.
bring the Helios because you'll be able to blow it out and you'll be able to get more of that Helios texture.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, like if you're shooting a Helios with blue sky behind it, it's
Not gonna do much.
I don't want to say it's pointless, but it kind of is, right? Because you're not really gonna get the reason why people shoot on a Helios. Well, people shooting with intent
Yeah, I
kind of want
mean,
to get that.
I only
The
have a
funny thing
couple of
is
image.
there was tree coverage, but where everybody wanted to go, there wasn't. And
Mm,
I didn't want to be like, no, let's go shoot it. So it's like there was a compromise there, but I still think it turned out good for sure.
I think
But
it turned out great. It's almost like that was that pair of shorts. Now you're gonna have to redo that concept.
yeah,
It could be like a reoccurring concept that ends up sticking with the brand where it's like it you put it on and it puts you where you need to be kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah. The theme was kind of like because the brand, my friend's brand is called Thankful. So his theme for this campaign, underlying, it's not, I don't think it's really being said. Maybe he
Yeah.
will, but the theme for it is kind of like, this is what gratitude feels like.
Nice.
So that was kind of like the idea of that. Um, but yeah, I'm trying my best to be more intentional with what I shoot and how I shoot it. And that even comes to me doing these YouTube videos that I've been doing. It's like, I don't need all this stuff for me to just hit record and make a point about it or whatever,
Right.
like I don't need that. So even when it comes to that, just simplifying that process and also like being intentional with, brand work or, client work, being more intentional about that as well. And, I only have one autofocus lens in my kit right now because I sold my 2470 GM Mark
I know
II.
you sold that one.
Yeah, it kind of broke my heart to let it go, but I think back to growth, like I kind of got to this point where like I don't need this thing. Like
Yeah.
I can sell this and go and buy the Sigma Art Mark II,
Yeah.
and I'm still gonna the only people who ever said anything about like, yo, that lens is the only people who ever said anything about the
Should I
GM Mark
answer
II
for you?
was other filmmakers, other photographers.
Yeah.
I never showed up to a shoot once in the last 3 years where
They
the
don't
client
know.
was
They
like,
don't care.
whoa, GM Mark II.
Yeah.
So we talked about it a bit earlier, but like they're paying us to give them the result that they want and need.
Yeah.
They're not really paying us because we have amazing
This
gear
said gear.
at this level that I'm at least. I do know that you get to the next tier or whatever, many tiers above, and then those things do become a requirement. But you said it too, like
But
it
that's
all
because
becomes
they're
rented.
asking for it
Yes,
sometimes.
yes.
Like they might want a certain look and the only way to acquire that look is by using this.
Yeah. Yeah.
At that level.
But I'm nowhere near that. And
Yeah.
the clients that I work
Same.
with, I'm stoked to work with. I love doing the work that I do, but I don't need all that.
Yeah.
So but the only autofocus lens I have right at this moment today is a Viltrox 13 millimeter APS-C lens. So it's a 20 mil basically.
Nice.
And that's what I shoot a lot of my stuff on. But everything else right now is that vintage kit.
Yeah.
Currently.
That's cool.
And
I kind of wish that
shooting
was
on
my
manual
kit, but
lenses definitely slowly taught me to be more intentional. And probably only up until like 4, I don't know, maybe less than 6 months ago, because I got the Nisi Athena no December 2023, and for a long time I always was shooting with it like how I shoot with autofocus lenses. Like I'm trying to do the same movements and stuff, and like I think now, and that's not a bad thing, but I think now that I'm just more focused on like, okay, composition, just like how to frame and like block and do those things that serves whatever little narrative that we're trying to tell or the point we're trying to get across. Now I'm not thinking about like, okay, now I need this big sweeping move. Like I need to make some hype video all the time.
right.
Like now it's like that video, almost everything was on a tripod. And if not, then I had it on the sack, on the saddlebag thing or whatever. And like I still think it feels really cool to watch. Like it feels good to watch those
No,
things.
absolutely. I thought it looked great.
Thank you.
I like that style where there's not so much movement. I think I've always liked that style, And it took me a while to be like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter if other people don't like that style. I like that style. And then you start seeing it more and more, and you kind
Hmm.
of start feeling more comfortable with your decision or your taste, I guess. Um, where it's just like a scene, you know?
Like not doing
Like this,
movement for the sake of movement, but for the sake of like, because I'm going to move and follow this subject through this shot because it's important to connect the pieces of this
yeah,
overall like image or vision that we have, instead of just like move, 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 move,
yeah,
move, move, cut, 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 speed ramp, speed ramp, speed ramp.
I
Which
know.
I still, I'm not a hater on that.
Oh, everything has its place.
Yes, yes. And I mean, dude, speed ramps were one of the things that made me want to do video. When like the first videos I saw like of bartenders, like really nicely lit compared to anything else at that time. And the speed ramps, like where it would just, because I got into bartending because I started to appreciate the performance of like making drinks.
Yeah,
And then when I saw my first videos of somebody who combined those video elements to amplify the performance, I was like, I want to do that. You know,
yeah,
I kind of want to get into that. And then what, 6, 7 years later, I mean, that's kind of the niche that I've committed my business to
nice.
is cocktails, bartending, and just kind of like food and beverage in general. But I don't need to do that for everything, you know, like
Right.
that if I was trying to do that last week during that video I just showed you, like none of that would have made sense. None of it would have made sense. I know what I would have shot it all in 60 frames just for it to look like the motion blur look like it. None of that served that at that point.
Man, sometimes I don't even like switching over to 60 frames. I'm
I
just like,
try not to
just let me
now.
be in 24 as much as possible.
It's kind of like it becomes a safety net too. Like it was my safety net for a while because you know or for me I would have the attitude of like, hey, I'm just shooting in 60 or whatever
It'll
120.
take out the bumps.
It'll take out the bumps and then I can slow it down if it's shaky, you know, like all those
Yeah.
things, which are not bad things.
No.
I try to be clear about that when I put stuff of me saying things like this
Oh,
on
yeah.
YouTube. It's like I'm not against those things. I'm just trying to get more again intentional with how I use these different features, functions and tools basically.
Yeah. Oh,
So what do you like what do you like to shoot? Like if you had it your way to only or not only shoot, but like to shoot what just sets your soul on fire, like what would you say that is?
I don't know
It
if
could be
they're,
more than one thing, of course, but
yeah, I don't know if that's quite how it feels for me. And maybe because I haven't experienced it. Like, don't get me wrong, like when I shoot stuff and I'm stoked on it, like I'll just keep watching it over and over again. You know, my girls, I'm like, hey, check this out. She's like, you're watching that again? Cool. Like, that's awesome. You know?
just I'm just gonna let you know you're not alone on that.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
And I'm like, dude, I think it's cool and I'm enjoying seeing it and there's something that it's feeding me, you know what I
Yep.
mean? But I guess I lend I gravitate more towards like a documentary style, or I don't know if that is even how you would describe it, but um, I enjoy hearing other people talk about whatever subject that they're talking about
Hmm.
because how what we were talking about earlier, how like being that we've decided to use this type of equipment as a means of making money, we also can share it with other people.
Hmm.
And I think that's exactly what that is. Like, I might not even be interested in what the person is talking about in the interview, but I'm getting to know that person a little bit, and that's neat. And I like the get everything set up and then be like, all right, let's do it, you know?
Does feel good when you're
It,
at that point
I like that.
of the production. You're like,
Yeah,
okay,
I
we're
love
ready to
that.
go.
Yeah, I love that. And at the same side, so I guess you could say my main gig is wedding videography.
Okay.
And at first, like we had talked about, it was like you feel so nervous. It's so high stress. It's
Dude,
a freaking
I've
wedding.
shot two and oh, I was like, all right, I don't know if this is for me
Yeah,
because of
no,
those. The stakes are high,
the
man. The
stakes are
stakes are
high.
high.
There,
It's
you have to,
fleeting moments, you
yeah.
know, like
People hold that day in very high regards, you know? And so that's kind of what I was used to. And there's certain things about it that I really love, and there's certain things that are you have to get more comfortable with,
Hmm.
you know? And so I like that controlled setting of doing interviews, but I also like that whole like follow somebody around documentary type of
Yeah.
vibe when you have a story in mind. So it's like, okay, all my shots are going to be put into either a TV show type style or a doc style. Um, but I know that I'm telling a story because, you know, today we're doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm documenting that to be created into an edit. And I like that. I like the rug. I like the on the fly, like you're there with them,
Yeah.
you
Yep. Yep.
know?
Yep.
It's like whenever I film surfing, I'm like, dude, I'm right there. Like, this is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
Like, I can't
I
believe
like
I
that
get to
about it
see
too.
that
Yeah.
wave in this
You feel like
action.
you're
Like,
on it with them. Like
yeah,
you sharing in. Oh,
you're sharing
you're
it with
sharing
them.
in the stoke with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, you could send it to them or whatever. But like you're encapsulating this moment, you
Yep.
know? And many others are too, but like you are as well. And that's kind of one of the things I really like about that. And funny thing is, I really haven't done much of that, but it's what I like.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to put myself into that kind of work, I guess. I like the adventures type of things. Um, I like the ever changing part of it, you know,
Hmm.
learning new stuff.
The unpredictability
Yeah, the
too of it,
unpredictability.
which
And
is there's there's dopamine hits in that too,
yeah,
especially when you get to that moment you're like, I can't believe I just got that
and you made it
camera.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're like, I
yeah.
can't believe I was
Oh, I was
in the
recording.
right
Great.
place.
Yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad I
Yeah.
didn't stop recording. I just
Yeah.
let it run, let it run, let it run. And that's actually one of the reasons why I've wanted to switch cameras or acquire another camera, but I don't need it. I
Mm.
want to do that kind of
What
work.
camera would you feel more suitable for those?
The FX6 or the,
Oh,
you
okay, I
know,
got you. Yeah.
FX6 over the FX9. They say the FX9 Mark II is going to come out, but I have Sony glass. Otherwise, the Ursa 12K LF, you
Yeah.
know, but I don't need it.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be one of those things that I've done this entire time, just buying stuff because I want to do the work opposed to buying it because I have the work.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yes,
like, all
yes.
right, this camera is totally capable. And then I started taking it out more and just getting B-roll shots, not even using the tripod. I had the FX3 with the 100 to 400, and I'm just in a V mount, and I was just taking it around, just getting
That's
some
crazy.
shots, just getting shots on S-Log with the LUT that I like built in, and I'm like, this looks nice, you know, like this is gonna be good for something.
Hmm.
And I haven't been stoking myself out for anything like that. And now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start doing that and do something with it. I don't know what yet, but I'm gonna start getting the footage, you know. So
Start. That's
just
the most important step. Start
yeah, just
with whatever it is, and then it's building some form of consistency. But you can't even think about consistency if you just don't start
if
first.
you're not doing, I
Yeah,
know,
you got to start
I know,
first.
you just gotta do it. I love doing freaking interviews. That's why I wanted to do this kind of like podcast format for foiling.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who started building parts in the foiling industry, and they're just like a guy in their garage, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
messing around, and then people hear about them. They're kind of like underground, you know, and they're and that's cool, and that's kind of how I end up getting connected with them. But they also have this completely other backstory
Yeah.
that is who they are or how they've gotten to where they are now, and it's like the foiling is a small part of it. It's like we're just talking to this person, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, same goes with us for this,
yeah,
right? Like this is just one component in thousands, if not more, of what makes us like me makes me,
yeah,
and
exactly.
same for you. And I think the foiling. I mean, like I don't know anything about that world, but clearly you do. So I think there's nobody more suitable to engage in those conversations with people from that world, really.
Yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cool, and but then I kind of got caught up on like, all right, I need to do this, but then I'm going to use it for this channel that I'm not also creating other content for to push it. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, no big deal. You'll just start doing these interviews, and then it's like interview podcast. It doesn't matter what it is, it's still a podcast. That's somebody talking is a podcast. So it's like, okay, so you have that, and then you could just start pushing that, and then it could kind of maybe snowball into something. You're also showing off your production skills,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
um, and your DP skills for what it is, because it would be outside. I wasn't thinking about doing lights. I was thinking about doing diffusion and neg, and but keeping it pretty simple because I would be going here, showing up at somebody's house in their yard,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but still doing it. Then I totally just got like, I didn't make it important enough to go and actually do it.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but I should probably be doing this instead, or working towards this instead. So then I never even did the first one. Um, and then I get caught where I'm like, yeah, but I want to use that and show it off on other areas, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of overthought it all, and I didn't want to get niched down too much, only posting it on like a foil community type of channel,
Channel or
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
I hate that that's even a part of the process in
Yeah, I
here.
know.
Like, what?
I know.
You didn't do it because you thought what that it wasn't good in time spent, or it's just like, oh my god,
I feel you on that.
overthinking, you know?
Yeah, I like over the last like year and a half probably. I've definitely wanted to do things similar to what you're saying, or even just like creating content, even if it's me in it, you know? And like I've thought like I've overthought the niche on at multiple points. And you know, I come from a bartending background, food and beverage, hospitality background. So like I started doing like cocktail content, and then like I don't know, I just stopped doing it because I think looking back on it, I think it just felt a little like soulless and contrived for me, even though that's the world that I come from. And then I did, you know, like camera gear stuff, but that just felt like disingenuous to me. Then I was doing like editing tutorial type stuff, and like I started all those things, but then I eventually I would stop, sometimes sooner than others.
Sorry to interrupt you. So you were doing those and
I
posting
started,
it
yeah,
and all?
yeah, I was
Okay,
putting stuff out
you were
there
putting stuff out there.
of myself pretty
Yeah,
much. Um, but yeah, and you know, I think a lot of the things that I was overthinking was the niching aspect of it,
yeah,
like you know, like, and I guess that's why now I just kind of threw all that shit out the window, and I'm like, you know, I am the niche,
yeah,
the things that I am interested in, and my experiences that I'm willing to share, like that is now the niche, you know,
yeah,
and like whether anyone, you know, gravitates towards that is out of my control. You know, like I have no control over what anyone will find interesting that I have to say or do or anything at all. But I do have control over like just hitting record, saying something, making something, and then publishing it.
yeah,
And, you know, and I think because I have no expectation and I am the niche, so to speak, therefore the content that I make can be whatever I want it to be, you
yeah,
know? Like if I'm super interested in this piece of gear at this moment in time, then I can talk about it if I feel like it. If
yeah. It feels genuine too, because you're like, I'm into this is what I want
it's
to speak on
really
right
what
now.
I'm talking, what I'm
Yeah,
interested in, and
yeah,
really my perspective
yeah.
on
You're
that
not trying to
thing.
push something so
And
much.
that has been my remedy to that exact situation that
I'll
you were
try it.
just sharing with
I'll
me.
try it.
And it's just like, you know,
Sounds good.
I in my mind, like all these videos I'm doing are shit, you know, like whatever. They're not meant to be high production value and like lit really nicely, unless there's something that I find interesting that I want to talk about where I think doing more of that stuff might make sense.
Right.
Like I did like this vintage lens video, and like I put a light up in, you know, and I double diffused it in my living room, you know, and I shot the thing, and I put B-roll over some of the shot. Like I put, you know, insert shots of stuff I got off of each lens and whatnot. Like, but yeah, it wasn't made really for any other reason, just to express that, like, man, these things got me excited. And I
Yeah.
think the purpose of that video was just to share with somebody else out there that if you haven't shot on these types of lenses, like I would suggest to try it out because
Yep.
it is interesting, and the barrier to entry in terms of price point is so low that like there's unless you just don't fucking want to do it at all, then you spend $50 and there's $70 with an adapter,
I
and you
know.
could play around with something. And if you hate it, then at least you didn't spend $2,400 on the thing. Like
Because for some reason you thought you had to buy that one instead.
that was the thing that was gonna make me more money
How
or
do I
wow
even get
people.
to that? I'm like, man, I really would like that new thing. It's only $1,000.
I think it's a part of the journey, really. I think it is. Like I think all of us kind of go through that, especially in the beginning phases when you're starting to do stuff where you're gonna get paid. Because some people just have the budget from their regular job where they're like buying a GM Mark II is just like
Yeah, it's
it's
an
not an issue.
investment, but it's
Yeah.
not a big deal.
I
It's not
enjoy
gonna.
this hobby,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
have money, so I can do
yeah.
that.
Right.
But for others, like for me, getting into it, going full time, and like now it becomes my only means of supporting myself and my family, then it's like that I viewed that all of those things as an investment with a baked in ROI.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
So it's like,
You
okay,
had a reason to be buying it,
yes,
or you
yes,
thought you did anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, certain things you think to yourself like, okay, I'm just gonna get that because it's top tier, and I don't need to
I don't have to mess
I
around.
don't need to spend money on the $600 2875 Tamron,
Yeah.
and then only 6 months later realize like, oh, I should have just got the
Right,
GM Mark
right.
II. So like, you shoot high, and then you don't have to worry about the things below it. But
And you got to try some stuff too. That's the
agree,
thing. We
agree.
don't have B&H here.
Yeah,
We can go and rent some stuff, but it's not really.
it's not as accessible,
No, it's not
really.
as accessible, and it's not cheap. You know.
For us to kind of play around with stuff, you either got to have a friend
Yeah.
that you both have that level of trust to share and do those, like share your equipment with,
Yeah.
and or you got to rent it, which the options are super limited,
Yeah.
or you got to spend the money yourself to try it out, or you build an influence, and then hopefully you get brands to send you out stuff to test,
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing.
which I have thought about that, but I don't know. Like I'm a gear nerd for sure, and I love geeking out on gear. Clearly, you and I have been doing it for however long now, but
Yeah.
just yeah, I don't know, to make content with the intention of like, oh, maybe a brand will send me a lens or a camera to play around with. Like, that just doesn't feel authentic to me.
I feel like it would have to be the same thing it would have to be the same thing you're already doing. It'd have to fit in that workflow, or even not even workflow, because it's as you feel it, right? Your expression session, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like they already know this is what you make. We're gonna send it to you. You have X amount of time to send it back. You
Yeah.
either get stoked on it and you make something with it, and then you send it back to them, or you send it back and you didn't make anything because it just didn't happen. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. For
Like
whatever reasons,
yeah,
too.
I
Yeah.
could see that being, with the content that you're making, I could see if you reached out to brands that they would do that. You know what I mean?
Like
Because
the
it's all
experience.
different kind of content,
Yeah. Yeah.
but maybe it goes in there, maybe it doesn't. I don't
Like
know.
I did know that if I were to do like gear related content, even when I was thinking like to do that, like not even combine or like as a branch off of what I'm doing now,
Yeah,
I did always think to myself like I would want it to be like experiential,
right.
like discussion, like not I'm not gonna go through the specs and the features, and like there's so many more
Needs to
people
be
that
real life
yeah,
experience
like
with it.
what did I experience while using said piece of gear? Like what did I feel when I used it,
There needs to be more videos like that, really.
Yeah,
Honestly, it's
I
like we
I
don't
agree.
need a review. We need an experience. How was it as your experience? You know what I mean?
If I need a review,
I mean,
I'm
I
gonna
get
go to
it's a
Gerald
review stuff.
Undone.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to this handful of guys that I think do it good for my preference and taste.
yeah,
I'm not gonna try and do what they're doing, and I don't even really care that much about. That's a lie. I do care about those features, but only as it serves the type of work that I do. Like, and it's funny that we talked about the FX6, and you kind of led me into that part of the conversation, because I've been thinking in the last couple of days, like, to talk about what I was telling you exactly about my experience from last summer to now using that camera, and what's changed about that,
yeah.
because that experience is unique to me and my camera.
Right.
You know
Not
what I
the
mean? Like,
person watching necessarily.
exactly.
And then there's going to be somebody who maybe
Might relate
is
to
in the
that.
same
Yeah.
spot. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like,
Like
dude, we want to
regardless, I
buy shit
still,
because it makes us feel good too. Like we
yeah.
can't, everybody knows that. You get endorphins. Ooh, I hit purchase, and then it comes, then you open it, and then you try it out, and then you put it back, and then you don't use it.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
Oh,
that
so
shit
many
happens.
times. But you have to go through those. You have to go through that to hopefully learn from it. And
Yeah,
I've definitely learned a lot in the last 3 years. And yeah, I've sold almost all my autofocus lenses, and now
I
I'm
know.
shooting everything on, for the time being. Like I plan to pick up a Sigma probably, but honestly, at this point, I might just get the Tamron. I used to shoot on. I've gone through 2 Tamrons since I started doing just photo and video in
Yeah,
general. I've gone through 2 Tamron 2875s. One when I was working for Kohana Rum, and they bought that one. So when I left the company, I
the
didn't take up.
G1 or G2.
I think that was a G2 at the time, I think. And then I started to do my own thing, and then I bought another one, I think G2 at the time. And I think I might just get that again because it's going to serve the purpose that I
Yeah,
need it to serve. And if I need to
I think
go,
I'm gonna pick that one up
if I need
too.
to go wider, then I'll just throw on my 20 mil, for those moments where I need it wider.
Yeah, which is not all the time.
Not all the time,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's what I might do and save another like $500, like why not?
yeah,
Because I don't even like that was the thing about the GM Mark II lately is like for going to shoot an event or things of that nature, it is a powerhouse. Like if I don't have to take it off my camera, I won't. Unfortunately, I do because my cameras don't have great low light performance. So once it gets dark, I would throw on like the 35 GM 1.4 and shoot. But most of the
at
time
1.4.
at 1.4, yeah. But also I've been pretty rebellious lately, dude. Like I've been pumping my ISO past the second base.
So you're shooting S-Log?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like even on the A7 IV, I shot an event a few weekends ago, and I shot most of it I shot the entire thing on vintage lenses
Nice.
in a dark bar,
Woo.
and I cranked that thing to like 6400 at points. And it's funny because I went in to edit the thing, and the texture and what I didn't even notice it that much,
Yeah.
but it did fit the vibe of where I was shooting.
Well, it works. That works
It looks
then.
fine to me, dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, it looks fine to me. I did try it at 12.8 just to see, and I was like, ooh, that's pushing it. That looks a little deteriorted. But I was like, 64? I barely noticed the thing on it, like
Yeah, it's
any
the
noise
vibe,
on
huh?
it. But I don't even know how I got into that point. But yeah, some of the rules are just there to be broken and
Yeah.
see how far you can actually push the boundaries. Like I definitely was in the mindset for all the way up until a month ago or so, and I was like, 3200 is my absolute limit. Like, oh, we're talking about low light shooting events. But yeah, now I'm just like, kick it up, maybe 1, 2 more,
Yeah.
see what happens. And honestly, it's super usable, like very usable. Granted, I'm not doing like corporate work doing that,
Right.
but
You have room to have a character in the image and
yeah,
in a look, right? And you're
yeah,
creating that
it fit the
with that.
vibe.
Yeah.
But even
As you
so,
shot
it didn't look
bad.
I don't even know if I noticed it at all,
Yeah.
honestly.
That's great.
But I knew that
Well, and it's
I
probably
wanted to
getting
shoot on
compressed too,
vintage.
right?
I think so.
A
I
little
think
bit.
so. Like, what do you edit in?
Final Cut.
Okay, yeah, because I usually do my like final grade in DaVinci, but I
Oh,
edit
nice.
everything else in Premiere. But yeah, I mean, DaVinci has a pretty good, in my experience at least, which is not much, but it has a pretty good noise reduction feature in it compared to Premiere. Obviously, if you crank it, the whole image looks like plastic, but like
Yeah.
if you just kind of like do it tastefully, like it does clean it up and doesn't make it look weird and like it came out of a factory pretty
Yeah.
much.
No, that's awesome. I'd like to get to play with some DaVinci eventually.
I
But
mean, you could test it out for free.
yeah,
There's that.
true.
I
I
ended
just
up
want to
with
do
it.
it when I'm gonna actually like commit to be like, all right, I'm gonna play with these short clips and like do it long enough
Learn
to
your way
actually
around
learn
in
it a
there.
little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. I have
Otherwise,
not done that, and I should.
well, because
really should.
otherwise, like I tried testing out Premiere a little bit, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not gonna leave Final Cut to Premiere for what I do. Like,
Yeah,
it's just gonna take longer to learn it, and I don't do that much.
yeah, and you're
like
gonna pay for it every month.
every month, and yeah, I don't really need that. But for color grading, I think that could be nice, you know, to eventually learn if I feel like that's necessary.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Final Cut, but I will say that the color grading features in DaVinci versus Premiere, it's not even a conversation.
Yeah.
Like it's not even close.
Yeah.
And I did
It's
get to a
real, it's like
point.
real color grading, right? Like in
I guess
Final
so,
Cut,
yeah.
like you don't have stuff like
And
that.
like the UI for it is just, it's, to me it's just very clear on how to use it.
Yeah.
And you know, whether you're pro colorist or just dabbling in it, like I think if you're just dipping your toes into it for the first time, it does seem overwhelming. I will say that. Like Premiere's interface for coloring is so streamlined and simple, to a detriment, in my opinion, once you get to a point where you're like, okay, I really want to start tuning this a little bit
Mm.
more. But yeah, I think once you're at like the stage of like that stage, you step into DaVinci. And I mean, I have the panel too, so I think I have a heavily
Got the
biased opinion on
panel.
that because it's all at my fingertips where most of it is
Dude, you're a color grader now.
for my own stuff.
Yeah.
For my own stuff. But yeah, I did want to
That's
start
awesome.
taking my color more seriously, maybe like a year ago. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pick up the panel because I've been using the free version with mouse and keyboard, and I'm gonna pick up the panel because, well, it was on sale on B&H, but then also you get studio version with it for
Oh,
no
nice.
additional price, right?
Nice.
So I was like, all right, so I'm gonna pay $800 for the panel, or I'm gonna pay $300 for the studio version by itself. I might as well shell out the extra 500 to have the tool to be able to use it. And for anybody who's ever like, if you're at a stage in your journey where you're thinking about picking up the panel, and you don't have studio version already, I would highly suggest the panel because the having everything at my fingertips, basically I can adjust the image and not take my eyes off the image or the scopes.
Mm.
I can move stuff around. You know
Nice.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of like look
Yeah.
like doing this, and that has been,
You actually know what your hand's
you see it
doing. Yeah.
live in
Yeah.
front of
Yeah.
your eyes, like move this here and you never have to take your eye off it. And I
Yeah.
think that is been probably the most powerful thing about being able to do it that way
Yeah.
when it comes to
That's a
my
useful
coloring.
tool to
So
have.
so good
Yeah.
because it's a pain, especially like if there's sliders. You're
Oh,
like,
man.
you know, you're trying to like, oh, I want 0.5 more, so you're trying to make sure you watch the slider for 0.5, and then you got to look back. You're
And
taking your eyes off
and
of
you
it.
want the next clip to have maybe that similar thing, and then you got
Yeah,
to create a new look, and it's just like, wait, why can't I just copy that number that it is and then put it back in the next one? It's like, no, there is no number on some of them. It's like, that's weird.
I do need to make a better effort of switching over to DaVinci though. But I don't know, maybe you feel the same way about Final Cut going to Premiere, you know, how you're saying. But for me, it's just like my work, everything about my workflow in Premiere is so dialed
Yeah.
that, and I know for a fact that I cannot completely transfer that one-to-one over into DaVinci. I know I cannot.
Mm,
Keyboard maps, everything I can, but like in Premiere, like I have my two-screen workspace completely customized to exactly how I want it.
yeah.
And it like, I'm just making excuses as to why I haven't switched, but
Hey, maybe you don't have to if you don't want to,
I would love to not pay Adobe every month for that anymore.
yeah, there's that.
And I don't know, I've heard rumors that they're supposed to upgrade the coloring suite in Premiere. I
Oh,
mean, like, if I didn't have to pay for it,
that's
that
the
would be so
thing.
good.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And DaVinci is awesome. I know it is. I just, like, once I get into the timeline, I'm like, how do I do that? How
Yeah.
do I, you know? But then I go into Premiere, I'm like, I'm just like,
Right.
pop, 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 click, click, click,
Well,
done.
but at that, well, yeah, see, that's the only thing, because have to keep paying for it. Where Final Cut, you don't have to.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're
I,
getting a lot of wind. I'm really curious to see how this is
it's,
going
it's
to
probably
handle it. It's like the wind is pushing on us.
completely
It's going through the part.
onshore
I
from our
mean,
angle here.
if this just sound like a crackle box,
Yeah, dude.
like I would not be surprised. But if it doesn't, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we got some nuggets in there
Yeah,
somewhere, you know?
we'll see how that sounds. But
I would probably transcribe this and then and then search for keywords
keywords,
because this
maybe
is a
make some shorts, throw some B-roll in there. You never know. I actually just purchased the Phantom Lutz film. So I only had The Ari.
the RE look.
I only
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the Ari look, and then I was feeling like it wasn't the look I wanted it anymore. And it wasn't really, yeah, it wasn't like the feeling that I was wanting, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started looking at a couple of other LUTs, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna just go look at his again, you know? And saw the films, ended up downloading it, and I'm really enjoying it. I just have it in the camera so I can monitor with the LUT.
Mm-hmm.
So I just shoot as
That's like the Eastman Bleach.
Yep, yep.
That set, right?
Yes,
Because I
I
think
forget what
the
other ones
RE
are.
is like Utopia,
Yep,
neutral,
Vision Teal.
teal. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and the Legacy. Legacy has like some more blacks
More
in it, a little bit of
contrast and yeah,
vignetting,
yeah.
contrast, and
Like I feel like you definitely want to, if your image is high exposure, then the Legacy probably would fit better. Because most of the times when I'm applying Legacy, I'm like, it's just so crushed, and I'm like,
yeah,
But luckily, you have the option for both.
yeah. I feel
They're great LUTs, dude.
yeah.
Honestly, I've
I feel like
gone back to them.
outsides. Yeah.
I've been using them a lot lately.
Yeah.
A lot, dude.
When I see the color, from what I've seen, I've only shot a little bit on them, predominantly outside. But what I've seen, I'm like, ooh, this is a good. These are good colors for me as long as I nail
Mhm.
my white balance. You
Yep,
know.
yep. Like
Um.
white balance, color correct,
Yeah.
see
And I'm
what it
like,
looks like.
oh, this looks good. Like,
And then I'm assuming in Final Cut you can adjust the intensity of the
yep,
LUT too, right? So
yep.
like
You can adjust
if
the
it's too much, you
intensity,
can kind of like
or just leave it and pull back certain colors.
yep.
Like, I'm really digging it, and it's nice because before, when I was monitoring the Ari look in the camera, I was like, this ain't it yet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
This ain't it. And then now when I put it in, I'm looking at the tiny little monitor on the camera, and I'm like, oh, this looks good,
Mhm.
you know? And then you get on the computer, and you're like, I can't believe it actually looked
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, that's been kind of fun
Yeah, I'm
seeing
glad
what
you brought Phantom LUTs up actually, because I got those. I got my hands on those a couple years ago, and I used neutrals, the neutral, not Legacy, the neutral LUT exclusively as my conversion LUT for a while. When I first started shooting S-Log3, I was like, oh, okay, cool. That doesn't look flat and whatever anymore. So I was
yeah.
like, oh, that looks good. But then I stopped for a while. Actually, I stopped using LUTs altogether, and
Oh,
then
let me get this real
oh
quick.
yeah, go for it.
One moment.
Oh shh. Oh,
Hey, babe.
oh never mind.
Hey, what's up? Ooh, I don't know. Should I? That's it's kind of like why I didn't go in the first place the first time. Just the space. But we should be, you think we'll be fine? I mean, we drove around anyway, so yeah, I guess we will be. Yeah, I mean, I can. Sure. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Okay. All right. All right, babe. I'll let you know when I'm heading back. Yeah. Okay, bye. Well,
All good?
oh yeah.
Okay.
All good, all good. Whoa, this was a fun rambling session.
Yeah, dude. This is awesome.
This was cool.
Kind of wild that we just met for the first time.
Bro,
Honestly.
I feel like this I don't know what the time says, but at least an hour.
At least.
At least an hour. Maybe not from recording, not sure,
Doesn't
but
feel like it, but I
yeah.
know it's at least an hour.
But just the fact that we were able to do this and get comfortable enough. I know you've been doing it more than me. So you seem very comfortable, but
I'm just thinking
even,
about I'm talking to you.
yeah,
honestly.
and we're just first time meeting each other too.
It's crazy.
So for that to be that comfortable and in front of the camera and mic'd up and not really knowing what we're gonna do with this, if anything, I'm like, oh, this went pretty well. This could probably continue if we had no time constraints
Yeah.
and
Easily.
we weren't thinking about family and traffic and
Yeah.
eating. I have
My
to use
boy,
the
I gotta go help
bathroom.
with. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta
you
take
know
a
what I mean?
piss.
Like
I'm
I'm
just
like,
checking my phone because I'm like I'm supposed to help my
yeah,
friend.
I'm like, this is getting concluded, but this could probably go on for hours.
Easily,
Honestly, like
easily.
I'm like, bro, we haven't even opened the bag.
No,
You know, this is what happens when you have no topics to talk about. You're
Yep.
just like one topic: filmmaking,
Yep.
cameras. Actually, no, anything. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was just life.
but this is how I feel. This is good.
Feels pretty good,
Yeah,
huh?
it feels good.
I'm definitely enjoying being able to have a dialogue right now.
Yeah, I'm that
Cause
kind of person.
yeah,
I don't
my
want just
videos have
one.
been just me, which is fine. I enjoy doing it,
Yeah.
but I have been wondering. I was thinking about reaching or maybe just blasting on my social recently, like, hey, anybody want to like chop it up with me and like
Yeah.
and go do a little back and forth on stuff?